When Ryan decided to rescue a stray puppy, he never imagined it would lead to a revelation that would turn his entire life upside down. Within months, he would discover the little creature wasn't a dog at all. To keep his new companion, Ryan would have to make life-altering changes. It all began on a chilly autumn afternoon as Ryan was loading groceries into his car outside a local market in a small Wyoming town. Something on a nearby pickup truck caught his eye, a small, rusted cage perched on the truck bed. Inside was a tiny, bedraggled puppy. Its fluffy black coat was matted, and its eyes were wide with fear and sadness. The sight tugged at Ryan's heartstrings, and he felt an immediate need to help. When the truck's owner returned, Ryan decided to approach him. "Hey, that's a beautiful pup," Ryan began, trying to sound casual. "What's his story?" The man, a grizzled farmer in his 60s, sighed heavily and shook his head. "Not much to tell," he replied. "Found him near my farm. He's been hanging around for days, causing trouble. Looks like he got abandoned." As the farmer continued, Ryan's heart sank. The man explained how animals like this one were often dumped near the main road by his farm. "It happens more often than I'd like," the farmer admitted, scratching his head. "We try to find homes for them when we can, but this one," his voice trailed off, his tone hardening. "He got into the chicken coop. Killed a bunch of my hens, scared the others half to death. I can't afford losses like that." The farmer's frustration was palpable, but Ryan could see the helplessness beneath it. The puppy was young, far too young to be on its own, and likely had no idea it was doing anything wrong. "I was planning to take him to the vet tomorrow," the farmer continued, his voice quieter now. "See if they can put him down. I don't have the means to keep him, and I can't have him causing more trouble." Hearing this, Ryan's chest tightened. The thought of this innocent creature being euthanized simply because it was hungry and alone was unbearable. "You don't have to do that," Ryan said quickly. "I'll take him off your hands. Let me give him a home." The farmer hesitated, eyeing Ryan skeptically. "You serious?" he asked. Ryan nodded firmly. "I'll even pay you for the damage he caused," he offered, wanting to make the decision as easy as possible for the man. Finally, the farmer agreed, warning Ryan to make sure the dog never came back to his land. As Ryan reached for the cage, the tiny pup trembled but didn't resist. He cradled the puppy in his arms, feeling its small body relax against him. "You're safe now," Ryan whispered. The puppy's sweet eyes met his, and in that moment, Ryan felt an unshakable bond form. Naming him Lucky felt fitting. After all, Ryan had come along just in time to save him. Back at his small apartment, Ryan quickly realized that taking care of Lucky would be no small task. His home wasn't exactly ideal for a growing puppy, with no garden and limited space. Still, he made do, rearranging furniture to create room for Lucky to play. The two became inseparable. Whether it was lounging on the couch, going for walks in the nearby park, or simply sitting together on the balcony, Ryan found immense joy in Lucky's company. Lucky, in turn, seemed to thrive under Ryan's care. He had an infectious energy and a playful streak, often snatching Ryan's hats or curling up on his hoodies to nap. Though mischievous, Lucky's antics only endeared him to Ryan even more. Ryan had never planned on getting a dog, let alone one with such a unique personality, but Lucky quickly became his best friend. Despite the challenges, Ryan couldn't imagine his life without the little ball of fluff who had turned his world upside down. While the hoodies quickly became Lucky's favorite spot to curl up and nap, his playful energy never wavered. Given Lucky's boundless enthusiasm, Ryan initially assumed that training him and managing him on walks would be a monumental challenge. However, to his surprise, Lucky was remarkably calm and obedient. The puppy seemed content to match Ryan's pace, exploring the quiet forest trails near their home with wide-eyed curiosity. That is, of course, until he spotted another dog. Then, all bets were off. Lucky loved other dogs with a passion. Whenever he encountered one, he would lose his mind with excitement, his tail wagging so hard it seemed like it might fly off. He wanted to befriend every dog he saw, regardless of whether the feeling was mutual. Even when the other dogs barked or tried to avoid him, Lucky would eagerly try to engage them in play. His infectious energy and harmless enthusiasm often drew compliments from other dog owners. "You've got a special one there," they'd tell Ryan, watching as Lucky wagged his tail with uncontainable joy. And they weren't wrong, Lucky truly was special. But as time passed, something about Lucky became increasingly hard to ignore. He wouldn't stop growing. His once tiny frame began to stretch and expand, his fluffy black coat thickening into a stunningly beautiful mane. Before long, Lucky had grown massive, far larger than any other dog Ryan had ever encountered. At first, Ryan tried to brush off his concerns, convincing himself that Lucky was just a large breed dog. Perhaps he was part wolf dog, a hybrid of some kind. But as the weeks went by and Lucky continued to grow, Ryan couldn't ignore the nagging worry in the back of his mind. What if something was wrong? What if Lucky had a hormone imbalance or a rare condition causing his unusual size? Ryan was afraid to hear bad news, but he knew he couldn't avoid it any longer. He made an appointment with the vet, hoping for reassurance but bracing himself for the worst. The moment Ryan walked into the vet's office with Lucky, the reaction from the staff was immediate. The nurse at the front desk let out a small gasp and quickly ushered them into a private room. "We need to make sure no other animals are around him," she said nervously, glancing at Lucky, who sat obediently by Ryan's side, his giant head resting on Ryan's shoulder. Ryan sighed but didn't argue. He knew Lucky wasn't a threat to anyone, but he understood why others might be intimidated by his size. At this point, Lucky was only a few months old, but he was already larger than most full-grown dogs of even the biggest breeds. Walking him through the neighborhood always drew stares and whispers, especially when he tried to play with much smaller dogs. Despite his gentle demeanor, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that something about Lucky wasn't entirely what he'd thought. The vet's visit confirmed his suspicions. When the vet walked in and saw Lucky, he couldn't help but laugh. "Well, you've got quite the companion here," he said, scratching Lucky behind the ears. "But I've got news for you. It's not bad, but it'll definitely change things." Ryan's stomach churned as he waited for the vet to explain. The vet grinned as he delivered the verdict. "Lucky isn't a dog. He's a full Canadian black wolf." Ryan's jaw dropped. "No dogs in his family tree," the vet added. "He's 100% wolf." For a moment, Ryan couldn't speak. Lucky had been so sweet and playful, never aggressive or threatening. Aside from his preference for meat over kibble, Ryan had never suspected anything unusual. But now, it all made sense: his size, his powerful build, his wild yet mesmerizing presence. Lucky wasn't just a dog with wolfish features, he was a pure wolf. The revelation left Ryan stunned. How had this wolf pup ended up abandoned near a farm? Had his pack left him behind? Had someone adopted him and realized their mistake? Whatever the reason, Lucky's fate had brought him to Ryan, and their bond was undeniable. Ryan now had a life-changing decision to make. Ryan had never suspected that Lucky wasn't a typical dog. Domesticated as he was, Lucky seemed like any other loyal companion. But now, with the vet's revelation, Ryan knew the truth: Lucky was a full-blooded Canadian black wolf. The vet had emphasized that releasing Lucky into the wild was not an option. Having been raised in a domestic environment, Lucky lacked the skills to survive on his own. At the same time, Ryan couldn't treat a wolf the same way he would a dog. It wasn't necessarily bad news, but it was life-changing. Adjustments had to be made, and Ryan's entire way of living would need to evolve to accommodate his newfound responsibility. The vet advised Ryan to contact the local wildlife authority. Ryan's heart sank at the thought of what they might decide. He lived in the heart of the city, in a modest residential neighborhood. His small yard was far from adequate for a wolf, especially one of Lucky's size. Lucky had been walking alongside neighbors, playing with other pets, and even interacting with children in the area. It was clear that such an arrangement was unsuitable. If Ryan wanted to keep Lucky, drastic changes were necessary. A few days later, a wildlife inspector came to Ryan's home. He was tasked with evaluating Lucky's situation and determining whether the wolf could remain with Ryan. From the moment the inspector saw them together, he couldn't help but notice the extraordinary bond between man and wolf. Lucky's calm demeanor and unwavering affection for Ryan were undeniable. The inspector was moved and made it clear that he would try to avoid separating them, but the current situation couldn't continue. The first step was simple but non-negotiable: Ryan and Lucky had to leave the city. Taking a leap of faith, Ryan sold his home and used his savings to purchase a small plot of land in the countryside. The land offered space for Lucky to roam and live more comfortably. However, it wasn't just about moving, there were legal hurdles to overcome. The inspector explained that, under wildlife regulations, keeping a wolf required Ryan to register as an animal rescue expert. This meant proving he had the knowledge, resources, and facilities to care for a wild animal responsibly. Many people in Ryan's position would have given up, but not him. Lucky wasn't just a pet, he was family. The thought of losing Lucky and never being able to give him his beloved head scratches again made Ryan's chest tighten. The wolf clearly adored him just as much, and the idea of separating them felt unbearable. The new land gave Lucky plenty of room to run and play, but there were still requirements to meet. Ryan needed to build a secure enclosure to ensure Lucky wouldn't accidentally wander into nearby properties and to keep everyone safe. This was a massive undertaking, and Ryan poured every remaining penny into meeting the necessary standards. Yet, the biggest obstacle was becoming licensed as a wildlife caretaker. To gain support, Ryan decided to share his journey on social media. Starting with videos of Lucky as a tiny pup and progressing to his current size, Ryan eased his followers into the shocking news: Lucky was a wolf. People were amazed, not just at the revelation but at the bond between man and beast. The videos showed Lucky behaving like a playful puppy, nibbling gently on Ryan's hoodie or ears. Despite his size and sharp teeth, Lucky never caused Ryan harm. It was clear how deeply he loved and trusted his human. The posts went viral, garnering millions of views. While some criticized Ryan's decision to adopt an animal without fully understanding what he was, most comments were supportive. People were captivated by the heartwarming relationship and inspired by Ryan's dedication. Strangers reached out, offering donations and assistance to help Ryan create a suitable home for Lucky. Thanks to this unexpected wave of support, Ryan was able to continue making improvements to the property. The wildlife inspector returned for a follow-up visit and was amazed at the progress. The enclosure was secure, spacious, and met every requirement. He approved Ryan's license, officially allowing Lucky to stay. For Ryan, it wasn't just a victory, it was a validation of his love for Lucky. The bond they shared had inspired countless people, and now Ryan could focus on giving Lucky the life he deserved: safe, loved, and always by his side. It was incredible to witness Ryan and Lucky's bond, but the viral social media posts about their story led to some unexpected consequences. Within days, the videos of Ryan and his wolf companion had garnered massive attention. While many viewers were captivated, others were quick to criticize. Some questioned Ryan's judgment in adopting an animal from a random farmer without knowing its origins. Others wondered how he hadn't realized Lucky wasn't a dog sooner. Critics accused Ryan of doing Lucky a disservice by keeping him in captivity, but thankfully, the majority of comments came from open-minded individuals who saw Ryan's genuine love for Lucky. These supporters recognized that he was doing everything possible to ensure Lucky's well-being. Many people admired the stunning wolf and were deeply invested in following their day-to-day lives. Despite the growing audience and attention, Ryan had little time to dwell on it. His focus remained on meeting the wildlife authorities' requirements to secure Lucky's future. Every spare moment and dollar went toward upgrading Lucky's enclosure. Ryan spent sleepless nights budgeting for the most essential improvements, pouring his heart into creating a safe, comfortable space for Lucky. However, when the wildlife inspector returned for an initial follow-up visit, his feedback was disheartening. The inspector acknowledged Ryan's efforts but stated that the enclosure still didn't provide enough space for a wolf of Lucky's size to thrive. Ryan tried to explain his plans, letting Lucky roam freely under supervision and continuing their long walks and play sessions, but the inspector wouldn't budge. All the required parameters had to be met for Lucky's care, leaving no room for compromise. It was an all-or-nothing situation. The inspector warned Ryan that he had just a few weeks to complete the necessary changes, or Lucky would be taken away. Though the inspector was sympathetic to the bond between man and wolf, his hands were tied by regulations. For Ryan, the warning felt like a death sentence. He had already exhausted his savings to buy the property and make the initial upgrades, and he was still working a day job in the city to make ends meet. The thought of losing Lucky was unbearable, yet it seemed inevitable. Ryan began preparing himself for the possibility of saying goodbye to his best friend. To ease the transition, he started spending less time with Lucky, hoping to reduce the wolf's dependence on him. But this only made things worse. Lucky became withdrawn and visibly depressed, and Ryan felt his own heart breaking with each passing day. Was Lucky going to survive being taken from the only family he had ever known? Ryan didn't have an answer, and the uncertainty consumed him. The sleepless nights and constant worry began to take a toll on his health, leaving him drained and hopeless. Then, something extraordinary happened. A friend of Ryan's left a heartfelt comment on one of his social media posts, sharing the struggles Ryan was facing in meeting the wildlife authorities' requirements. The story resonated deeply with viewers, inspiring an outpouring of support from people who had been following Lucky's journey. Donations started pouring in from strangers who wanted to help Ryan create a proper home for his wolf companion. Ryan's struggles to keep Lucky inspired an outpouring of support from people across the world. The story of the wolf who thought he was a dog, and the man who refused to give up on him, touched hearts everywhere. Suddenly, countless individuals wanted to contribute to helping Ryan build a proper home for Lucky. Donations began pouring in, far exceeding anything Ryan could have ever imagined. Within weeks, he had raised enough funds to complete all the necessary upgrades to the sanctuary. What surprised him most was learning that even the wildlife inspector, who had delivered the stern warning, had contributed to the cause. When the inspector returned to the property to check on the progress, his face lit up with genuine happiness. Ryan had met every requirement to the highest standard, and the inspector couldn't have been more pleased to deliver the news. "You've done an incredible job," he said, handing Ryan the finalized license. Ryan was officially certified to care for Lucky and any other animals that might come under his care. Overwhelmed with relief, Ryan celebrated the victory with his online supporters, who had been eagerly following the journey. Lucky, sensing the excitement, wagged his bushy tail and nuzzled against Ryan's shoulder as if to say, "We did it." With the stress of meeting the inspector's demands behind him, Ryan could finally focus on the bond he shared with Lucky. He spent more time than ever with his wolf companion, reinforcing their trust and refining his training techniques. Lucky, now in his fully upgraded enclosure with plenty of space to roam, seemed happier than ever. But for Ryan, this was only the beginning. His experience with Lucky had ignited a deeper passion, the desire to help other animals in need. Ryan realized there were many animals, like Lucky, who had been misunderstood or abandoned and needed someone to advocate for them. While he now had the facilities and certification to care for them, resources remained a challenge. However, his social media audience, which had grown exponentially, provided an unexpected solution. People were not only eager to watch Ryan and Lucky's journey unfold but also wanted to support his mission. Seeing the overwhelming interest, Ryan began creating Lucky-themed merchandise, shirts, hats, and mugs featuring the wolf's striking silhouette and playful expressions. The response was incredible, with fans across the world purchasing items to support the sanctuary. In addition to merchandise, Ryan received countless offers of assistance. Animal lovers, impressed by his natural talent for connecting with animals, reached out to contribute financially or volunteer their time. With their help, Ryan expanded the sanctuary to welcome more animals. Wolves and wolf hybrids became his specialty, but he didn't limit himself to just one species. Any animal in need of care, whether it was a fox, a deer, or even wild boars, found a safe haven with Ryan. Lucky, now surrounded by a growing family of rescued animals, became the unofficial ambassador of the sanctuary. Though most of the other wolves were smaller than Lucky, they still provided companionship and playfulness that the massive wolf enjoyed. One particularly memorable moment was when Ryan posted a video of a group of young wild boars joining the sanctuary. Viewers were enchanted by the sight of the boars rolling over for belly rubs, and it became one of the sanctuary's most popular updates. Ryan's ability to bond with all sorts of animals amazed his followers. From the moment he found Lucky in the tiny cage on the back of that farmer's truck, Ryan's life had changed forever. That day didn't just bring him a wolf, it revealed his true calling. Ryan's dreams only grew bigger. His ultimate goal was to create expansive, naturalistic enclosures that allowed the animals in his care to experience life as close to the wild as possible while ensuring their safety. Starting with Lucky, he envisioned building a vast sanctuary where animals could thrive in an environment tailored to their needs. Lucky, with his affectionate nature and love for head scratches, might never survive in the wild, but Ryan was determined to give him the next best thing. Until that vision could be fully realized, Ryan continued to pour his heart into the sanctuary, ensuring that every animal received the love and care they deserved. Life had shifted dramatically from the days when Ryan believed Lucky was just a dog. Yet, the bond between man and wolf remained as unshakable as ever. That connection, built on trust and love, was a reminder of what truly mattered. Ryan often reflected on how much his journey with Lucky had taught him, about resilience, compassion, and the incredible impact of a single act of kindness. And that bond, as Ryan knew, would last a lifetime. The story of Ryan and Lucky, the wolf, highlights several meaningful lessons about compassion, connection, and sacrifice. Ryan's initial act of kindness in saving Lucky did more than rescue a wild animal, it transformed his entire life. This underscores the immense power of compassion, showing how one selfless act can ripple outward, creating profound change. The bond between Ryan and Lucky exemplifies the unique connection between humans and animals, even across the boundaries of domestication and the wild. Despite Lucky being a wolf, Ryan's love and care forged an unbreakable relationship that transcended species. Moreover, Ryan's willingness to leave behind the comforts of city life and make sacrifices for Lucky's well-being illustrates how love can inspire extraordinary personal growth and change. If you were in Ryan's shoes, would you be ready to alter your life for a creature like Lucky? Thank you for listening, and see you in the next story.